F1 on ITV, sponsored by LG.
First points and first podium of the season for Jenson Button. Now you see it, now you don't. Since Imola, BAR have been thrown out and banned by a court in Paris. The trucks have left Barcelona. They won't be going to Monaco. They're missing a magnificent fiesta. Fernando Alonso's Renaults won the last 3 Grand Prix. Now he wants the capacity Spanish crowd to see another victory with their own eyes. It's a beautiful early summer's day. The Catalunya circuit has caught Fernando fever. Welcome to race 5 of F1 2005, the Spanish Grand Prix.
Good afternoon. He's only 23. He is quiet and unassuming. His hometown Oviedo is 700 miles away, but Fernando Alonso has lit the F1 flame here in Spain. It's a coincidence, but the colours of his region, Asturias, are yellow and blue, exactly the same as his team, Renault. Let's check how Alonso fared in qualifying.
Well, all season long, we've seen the gaps between the cars in first qualifying getting smaller and smaller. And here in Barcelona, Martin, 7/100ths of a second separating the front 4. And Mark Webber in 6th, only 0.2 of a second down. It was going to be really close for second qualifying.
Absolutely, all through the grid. There were 3 distinct groups that were pretty close together. And then even the groups were just a few tenths apart, as you say, James. Interesting strategy overnight then. Are you going to go on the attack and lighten your fuel load? Or are you going to be looking over your shoulder and defending your qualifying 1 position?
The crowds have been pouring in from all over Spain to salute their new hero, Fernando Alonso. Could he grab pole? Well, certainly to start with, Thiago Montero's blow-up didn't help matters.
Now, the engine was just failing as he went over the line, and then lifting off the throttle, it blew itself to pieces. An engine change for him.
Juan Montoya, though, difficult first qualifying for him, having been one of the first cars out, but a stunning performance in the second qualifying really put him up amongst them. 7th on the grid, his reward.
Yeah, it's a big and good recovery from Juan Pablo Montoya. Hopefully he's got enough fuel on board to take him a good way into the race.
David Coulthard looking for another top 10 qualifying position. Red Bull Racing hooked up at this racetrack.
Yeah, the car's going better than it has done previously in Imola and Bahrain. They look like they're back on the pace. They've been solid top 10 contenders all weekend. He starts 9th on the grid.
Well, Giancarlo Fisichella had 0.2 of a second in his pocket over David Coulthard going into his lap, but he had some other scalps in mind as well, not least that of Juan Montoya. Very solid lap from Fisichella.
Yes, he was only 1.6 seconds slower than yesterday's qualifying 1 time, suggesting he could have gone a little bit lighter on fuel in order to leapfrog a few other runners.
He ended up 6th eventually on the grid. Rubens Barrichello didn't set a time. He's taken an engine change, different strategy for him. He'll start from the back of the grid.
Yes, didn't go out at all. He wanted to save that fuel, but Michael Schumacher did run and struggled, running wide on a couple of apexes and generally failing to get enough heat in those Bridgestone tyres on the first flying lap. And he's under pressure in the back end of the top 10 on the grid.
Yeah, the Ferrari much better on the race distance than in qualifying, but the surprise package undoubtedly was Mark Webber, 6th after the first qualifying session, but an absolutely stunning lap in the Williams, which had an engine problem on Friday. Didn't run at all for Mark Webber, pushes him right up onto the front row of the grid. Williams' first front row of the season.
Yes, another man though, only 1.6 slower than yesterday, but this man, Raikkonen, made an error in qualifying 1 and very much put that right in second qualifying. He goes fastest, a 1 minute 16.6 on his hot lap this morning. He's got pole by a quarter of a second. Excellent effort, the McLaren really looking fast. Is it reliable enough?
Well, it heaped pressure on Fernando Alonso. He always knew, as you could see on his sector times as he did the lap, he wasn't going to match Raikkonen. The crowd still believed right up until the last few inches of his qualifying lap, but in the end, Alonso sliding down into third place behind Raikkonen and Webber.
But he was super confident in the press conference, so Alonso clearly with good fuel load. But the Toyota of Trulli didn't look a patch on yesterday. He was fighting it all the way round.
It was 4-0 in qualifying between him and Ralf Schumacher in Trulli's favour. Here for the first time of the season, Ralf Schumacher faster than his teammate in qualifying. Nevertheless, Trulli 5th on the grid.
Starting the top 3 again is a very good position and a very good chance to do a good race.
The Renault usually have a good start, but last race they were not any stronger than us, so I'm more hopeful that we can keep our place in the start now.
It's going to be a good race. We're hopefully get a podium and we'll do our best to stay there.
Let's go on board with Mark Webber. He was equal fastest on a 1:16.6 this morning. Let's see how he did it. 200 miles an hour down into turn 1. This newly resurfaced racetrack, 14 turns, 4.6 kilometres, just under 3 miles. He's into turn 3 already. It's a never-ending right-hander where the nose of the car tends to wander wide. A short straight down to 4, a bumpy braking zone. You tend to turn in early and then just let the car ease off, open up the steering wheel and get maximum acceleration, flicking it to the right-hand side with the downhill braking of turn 5 where it's very easy to lock an inside wheel. On track, sweeping through 6, nothing for a driver to do there. 7 at the foot of the hill. You have to get the nose in, straighten the car up on the curb, pointed up the hill to the blind Campser corner with a skinny curve on the exit. There it is. He'll diagonal the straight to be on the right-hand side for a heavy braking zone, 180 miles an hour down to 55, kissing the white line on the inside, sweeping through turn 11 across the curb, and the car stays arrow straight. You have to be patient now through 12 and floor the throttle, traction control working, overtime 13, very fast, and you've never-ending acceleration into 14. There is the end of the lap already. Wonderful time from Mark Webber, a front row grid slot.
A shorter grid for the Spanish Grand Prix, no BARs. Raikkonen's revised McLaren a second pole in a row, and Webber's Williams his first front row since Malaysia last year. Alonso looking for a fast start. Ralf Schumacher 4th for Toyota. Trulli 5th, dropped from 1st yesterday to 5th. 6th, Fisichella in the Renault. Montoya 7th, back for McLaren after 2 races out, and 8th, Michael Schumacher struggled over 1 lap. 9th, Coulthard for Red Bull Racing. 10th, Massa Sauber. 11th, Liuzzi made mistakes in the first session. 12th, Villeneuve, mystified by lack of pace. 13th, Carthaken's Jordan, his best grid ever. Albers and Friesacker in the Minardis, 14th and 15th. Whilst at the back, 16th, 17th and 18th. Barrichello, Heidfeld and Montero, all there because of engine changes.
Thanks for that, Tony. Tony with me down here in the paddock. We'll talk about Alonso in just a moment. What about the 2 fellas in front of him, Raikkonen and Mark Webber in the Williams? How much fuel is there in that Williams tank, do you reckon?
Might be a little bit light. Big question mark is, can he get off the line? It's been a slog off the line, that car. They've been at Silverstone just practicing their starts. Again, they arrive with loads and loads of aerodynamic parts, which they've thrown at the Williams car. And this has proved to be very, very effective. Heidfeld looking on, Heidfeld starting up at the back. Kimi Raikkonen in the revised McLaren. This is amazing. They've worked on the suspension so it can turn into the medium bends. More power in the Mercedes. 2nd pole in a row. And I fancy his chances, but reliability, he quit on lap 9 at the last race with a drive shaft.
He was there last year. It didn't last race, I should say. The McLaren Mercedes didn't last. Michael Schumacher in the last race charged through the field and ended up right behind Fernando Alonso. Same again here, Tony?
I don't think so, Jim. Very different situation. The temperatures were lower. The new Bridgestones were working very well. A major factor at Imola. Here they're struggling over 1 lap. In the first sector is fast. The changing conditions and not being able to adapt the car quick enough are a problem. And also a problem they've not seen before, Jim. Barrichello's engine, a suspected cracked block. Could Schumacher's engine be of the same batch? They're not sure at the moment.
Tony, thank you very much indeed. So then we have an 18-car grid because Jenson Button and Takuma Sato, the BARs, will not be allowed to race here or indeed in a couple of weeks' time in Monte Carlo. Suddenly, their season has turned very sour.
This was meant to be a great weekend for BAR. The car is fast and Jenson's at the top of his form. But now the team have pulled out, and rather than driving at 200 miles an hour, Jenson Button and Takuma Sato have been in hiding. It's crushed the spirits of everyone in the team. The controversy's all about whether BAR used fuel as ballast. Their designers saw a grey area in the rules and took advantage of it. As they told the FIA courtroom, the rule on weight says the car must never run less than 600 kilos, but it does not specify whether that's to be measured with or without fuel. BAR thought it could be with fuel. Their dry weight was 594 kilos. So even though with fuel the car was always over the minimum, it was possible for them to run underweight. Was Jensen aware of this?
I'm not going to know everything about the car, and obviously now everybody knows every detail about our car. So I know as much as everybody else. But apart from that, I don't really want to comment too much on it. A two-race ban, it's mad. You know, it's all these guys that have worked in there non-stop to build this car, and back at the factory at BAR and Honda, bringing this car here, hoping for a fantastic weekend. Suddenly we're sat here doing nothing.
And you're saying that BAR have been deliberately breaking the rules, cheating?
Effectively, yes. That's what one has to say. In our view, they knew what they were doing, they knew the advantages it would bring, and they did it notwithstanding that, and it destroys the whole basis of Formula One. We've got these people fighting for a hundredth of a second, and if you've got a device like this, it just subverts the entire competition. It destroys the basis of a competition if you do things like that.
The FIA have very nicely reduced their claim of fraud and deception, and it's now become lack of transparency, which is good. We acknowledge that. But on the other hand, the severity of the penalty still makes it look as though we're guilty, which we're not.
Nevertheless, the other teams regard BAR's interpretation of the weight rule as nonsense. Many believe it gave them an unfair advantage.
I think it's pretty clear how your car needs to be weighed, and you can't do that with fuel in it. So for me, it's pretty clear cut.
Very difficult to believe that they've done anything knowingly to get around the rules. It's clearly just an interpretation thing.
From what I've heard, I'm not really in the position because I'm only a bloody driver, but when the technical guys say what they've done, it's a very old trick.
In the sport, everything is not legal, you need to pay. And for sure they are paying for that.
It's harsh, but I think you need to set a standard to really show people they shouldn't go that route. Because if they make a lag, if they just take the points away from one race, people, everybody starts thinking, oh, we should do that.
Honda are one of the manufacturers unhappy with the way F1 is run and have threatened to establish a breakaway series. Journalist Michael Schmidt was with us in the FIA court in Paris, and he believes there's a link here.
The FIA and Max were hoping that this case against BAR Honda would bring Honda back in the FIA camp. But I think the outcome is a completely different one. Honda now will have even less trust in the FIA because they think that the judgment is far too harsh for what they did.
And one thing that Japanese hate is dishonesty. In Japanese business, we don't, sometimes we don't need a contract. We just need to shake hands. And, people like to think that Honda didn't do it intentionally. I'm sure that the senior management at Honda had no idea this was going on. No way they would allow that to happen. Why risk the reputation of your company? This was done by the engineers at team level and kept very quiet, I'm sure, from everybody.
Jenson Button has a Williams option for next year, but what effect will this embarrassment have on his future?
Yeah, it's not going to change anything for me for the future. It's not going to damage my career, and it's not going to make me choose where I want to be for the future either. We expected to come here and have a very good chance of getting a podium and maybe a win. And Monaco, we thought we were going to... I thought we were going to destroy the opposition in Monaco, so that's why it's really disappointing for the whole team and especially me.
Tony, loads of British fans here in Barcelona. I spoke to a few of them. Their faces fell this morning, and I confirmed to them Jenson will not be racing here or in Monaco.
Well, imagine if it happened to Alonso here, or if it had happened to Button at Silverstone, the same effect. It is pretty devastating for the whole team, and particularly Button. The car's been going so well, Jim. Mugello is really fast. It set an unofficial lap record here in Barcelona, and all that's being squandered, really. It's a great shame, and I think the fans are being deprived.
The way he was talking there, he fancied himself for a win in Monaco, didn't he?
Well, he did. He was very, very close last year. He was superb. You remember 3 years ago he had that big smash, and last year he very nearly did it and caught truly up at the end.
What about his future? Sure.
surely the time is ticking now. He'll be on his way out of BAR at the end of the season, won't he?
Well, I think it's very difficult. He's waving goodbye to any chance of the World Championship now. By August, he's got to have 3/4 of the points of the leader in the championship. There's no way he's going to do that, and Williams can take up the option. So I think he's going to have a big job to try and keep this fella in BAR.
Okay, Tony, thank you very much indeed. All it means as well is the result of the San Marino Grand Prix has been changed. Alexander Wurz claiming Button's trophy. He's promoted to 3rd. Sato's points disappear as well. Villeneuve, he moves up to 4th. Then Trulli. Ralf Schumacher lost his point after an unsafe pit stop. So Mark Webber scores a couple. Antonio Liuzzi, the bubbly Italian, he registered for Red Bull Racing on his F1 debut as well. Alonso on a roll, unbeaten since the start of the season in Australia. Trulli's looked really strong for Toyota. Fisichella, well, he's been struggling since that win down under. Michael Schumacher goes for a magnificent 7th win here. Heidfeld, Ralf Schumacher and Coulthard, and then Webber, Barrichello and Montoya. But it is Alonso who's got the Spanish hearts pumping. He is on course to become the youngest F1 champion ever. His fans have the cross of victory on their flags. They say their Fernando is faster than the speed of light, and the king, Juan Carlos, he is a huge fan as well.
Spain has fallen in love with Formula One, and it's all thanks to Fernando Alonso. He's a pint-sized pin-up with a massive talent, and that's made him a hero to his countrymen.
To be like a hero for them is a surprise, because, you know, I'm not coming from a rich family or anyone, so I feel like them. And I'm very surprised when I see them, when they see me.
Fernando drove a go-kart for the first time aged just 3. It was the start of his journey on the road to success. Alonso's Formula One career began with a maiden season at Minardi before testing and then racing with Renault. He hit the wall in 2003 at Interlagos and then hit the headlines as he overtook the world champion to become Formula One's youngest ever race winner. Thus began the start of the Spaniard's reputation as a top dog in F1.
The problem is that in Spain no one understood Formula One, so they never liked it very much. But now that Alonso is pulling the spectators, the people understand.
40,000 people from his own town. They come in here with buses, with 500 buses, taxis, cars. The whole place is just gone bananas.
Alonso's hometown, Oviedo, has become a mass of crazed fans who watch every race in the local cinema. His triumphs evoke enormous emotions, something Fernando thrives on.
Alonso, I love you! I love you, Alonso!
When you are not in the car, you're still thinking in the next race, in the next championship, in the next test, to keep the motivation for the fans and for all the people high.
He attacks every corner with the aggression of a raging bull, and his emotion in and out of the cockpit is mirrored by his beloved fans. Fernando Alonso's the only Spaniard to have won a Grand Prix. Today he could make it 4 in a row.
Well, we've come across another Spanish sporting icon. Carlos, what must it be like for Fernando to be adored like this?
I'm sure he's really 100% committed now, really looking for the race, and I'm sure he will be very, very happy to be leading the championship and really having a chance this year of winning.
Has he made Formula One more popular than World Rally used to be or bikes used to be?
Well, for sure, at the period when I was winning the championship, rally became very popular, then motorcycle became very, very popular, and now Formula One, finally we have a very good driver leading the championship. It has become very popular as well. More or less, each thing is different, each time is different, but here I think you can see it's a great thing for Spain here today.
Thanks, Carlos.
You know, Oviedo, Alonso's hometown, 700 miles from here. 200,000 the population. I reckon they've got the signs outside, town closed today.
They're all here, aren't they? There's no question. But this is a big dream for Fernando Alonso. He didn't think he'd make it more than being a go-kart mechanic. And he said, if I can just stand on the podium at the end of the day, it'd be like his team Real Madrid beating Barcelona 10-0. But he's also, they've built a culture here. De La Rosa has helped start that, Genet, and now this man's transformed the place. Unbelievable that Formula One is so popular. popular. We used to come here, there were about 10,000 people.
I'm so impressed with his character, so calm. He just seems to take everything in his stride. Very rarely see him ruffled, do you?
Well, he says all the pressure was on him when he was karting and he had to be world karting champion. He said, I've proved how good I am. He's gone past that stage, and I think Carlos Sainz is right there. He will just be focusing now on the race.
And watch for him at the start as well.
Yeah, because they've got new software in the Renault, they've got the revised engine, so he's going to go off like a scolded rabbit again.
Thank you, Tony. Let's take a look at the champions, Ferrari. So far they have had another torrid weekend. Rubens Barrichello's had to change an engine. That means he's down the back. And Michael Schumacher, unbeaten here this century, will have to go some to maintain that record. That Alonso takes some overtaking.
The last lap of the San Marino Grand Prix. It's been an absolutely thrilling conclusion.
Alonso's car's painfully slow in Rivazza 1. It's going to leave him exposed into the final chicane.
Been lots of breakdowns. Amazing defensive driving by Fernando Alonso. One of the closest finishes I can remember for many, many years.
Fernando Alonso may have taken the spoils in San Marino, but the unbelievable pace of Michael Schumacher's Ferrari was the story of the day. It also reopened the debate about Ferrari's refusal to sign up to the same testing restrictions as all their competitors.
9 teams agree to have a limit days of testing and one not. It's not in the rules, they can do what they want, but I think for all the people it's not fair.
If the other teams think they want to have an agreement, then that's their choice, but Ferrari never entered this agreement, and that's it. There is 3 teams that run Bridgestone tyres, and there's 7 teams that run Michelin tyres. And if you can count the kilometers the Bridgestone tyre companies do, I think we do far less.
Would Schumacher's Bridgestone-shod Ferrari have the same speed advantage here in Spain? That was the big question, and the answer was no. 7th on Saturday, he slipped down to 8th in final qualifying.
We simply have to face the situation for one lap. We are not strong enough. We are, in my view, more competitive on the race pace.
Tactically timed pit stops helped his climb from 13th to 2nd in San Marino, and Michael will need help from the pit wall to overtake here.
Yeah, it's basically as impossible as it is in Imola, honestly. Unless somebody makes a mistake, you just get stuck behind.
Rubens Barrichello's going to have to find his way past a few cars. After suffering an unscheduled engine change yesterday, he starts 17th with a heavy fuel load.
It was very disappointing to hear that I had to change my engine, so it was that's the sad point. As always, I keep on a high and see what I can do.
But race pace has been Ferrari's forte, and all eyes will be on the red cars to see if it's Imola all over again.
Well, we're down here at the door garage now with team boss Alex Schneider. You haven't been to a Grand Prix since Australia. Are you happy with the progress that the team's making? Just asking if you're happy with the progress that your team is making, generally speaking.
Of course, we have to improve. I mean, we're improving in steady strides, but there's still a lot to do.
What about the drivers? Do you think they're doing a good job for you?
I think so, yes. They're learning, they're rookies, they're learning, and I think that they are, I'm surprised by their performance.
I understand that you're looking at introducing quite a heavily revised car at Silverstone. Are you going to make any other changes this season, or is it really a holding year before the big impact in 2006?
We are going to introduce a new car. We are now working in 2 wind tunnels full-time in our wind tunnel in Berkeley and with the Lara. And we're developing a car for 2006. We're going to have a car introduced, you're right, later on in the season. And we are constantly improving to get ready for 2006.
Thanks for talking to us. Enjoy your day.
Watched them go in 2006, a very different character at the top of Jordan these days. Now our contender for commuter of the year. He doesn't bother with cars, buses or trains. His commute takes him from Oxford to Cologne. And I suppose having a private plane helps take away some of the strain.
Well, it's 9:30 in the morning at Cologne Airport. And you know, it's an early start coming from the UK, but Mike Gascoigne's already been at his desk for half an hour now. Hallo, aus Toyota, bitte?
Toyota.
Können Sie Ralf Schumacher?
Ralf Schumacher, ja. Ja.
Und Jarno Trulli?
Jarno Trulli auch, ja, guter Fahrer.
Ja, sehr guter Fahrer.
Ja.
Und Mike Gascoigne?
Ist Football in England.
While this Gazza may not be a household name with German taxi drivers, he is leading the team who are turning round Toyota's F1 fortunes. But what does an Englishman in a Japanese company do at work all day in Germany?
This is it. Oh, very nice. Well, I think you're going to show us around, so let's make a move.
Here we're working on Barcelona development. We've had some good improvements over the last 2 days.
Are they any good?
0.3 of a point, so a small amount, but it's
0.3 of a point. That's 0.3 of a percent.
Less than that. It's sort of about 0.1 of a percent.
Right.
But if you put 10 of them on, it's a tenth.
Well, that was worth the last 10 minutes, I must say.
Well, exactly. That's the whole point. So this is the F1 workshop where we have the car bays.
So this is where the kind of proper work goes on, where people would recognise cars here, because the rest is just computers, isn't it?
Well, actually, all the cars have gone away because we've got quite a big aerodynamic update. Some of these parts we've only just discovered in the wind tunnel 2 or 3 days ago, so they're still in production. So they're not yet through to be built up on the cars, but they'll be on for the race in Barcelona. In Formula One, you have to get everything right to get a level of performance and be competitive. And, the whole team has done an excellent job.
So no shouting required this year?
No, we have our moments. But, it's sort of more of the case that now everyone knows the standards, they know what's required. And as long as they're doing it, I don't have to do anything. You know, my job shouldn't be to do, it should be to direct.
Is that it then?
That's it for the day.
Are we done?
Time to go home.
Isn't it a bit crazy commuting to Germany every day?
Well, you've got to make your decisions in life. I mean, because I'm travelling to races, then basically for the family, if they moved over to Germany, I wouldn't be there half the time anyway. So, we made the decision that when we went to go for the job, that, I had to be able to get back.
As soon as the plane, complete with personalised plates, touches down, he's off for dinner with the family. And then 12 hours and an extreme haircut later, Mike's back.
Morning, one and all.
We then set cruise power for the trip to Barcelona and discuss Jarno and Ralph's chances. But Gaz is well aware that underneath all the perks is one simple truth. If he doesn't deliver, he won't have the problem of having to get home for dinner on time.
So looking ahead to the next race then, we've seen improvements from Toyota. I mean, what's the logical progression for Toyota?
Well, we have to start winning races. We now prove that we can finish on the podium and do it reasonably regularly. 50% of the races this year we've been on the podium. We've got to keep that up, but the next step is to be on the top step of the podium.
Can you do it?
Of course we can do it. I think we have to do it, and we've got the resources, we've got the backing of Toyota, we've got the right drivers and the right people. So ultimately, if we don't do it, it'll be my fault.
This McLaren team know a thing or two about winning races. I'm delighted to say that team boss Ron Dennis will be joining us here on ITV F1 from the pit wall during the Spanish Grand Prix. Here's Ron Dennis talking now to Ted Kravitz.
Indeed, Jim, and Kimi Räikkönen has just left the garage. Ron, are you going to tell me that McLaren want to spoil all these nice people's day?
Well, we're going to do our very best, that's for sure. If we can't have a sea of silver up there, we'll have it on the finish line, we hope.
Just outline the improvements to the car that has enabled Kimi to have this pace this weekend.
We always have constant development. In Australia, everything that's on the car now was planned to be introduced here. We managed to bring some of it to Imola, which helped our qualifying pace. And now we've got an increased race pace, which comes from improved engine, improved aerodynamics, new front suspension. So it's going well.
OK, well, we look forward to hearing your pearls of wisdom during the race, and have a good one.
Well, hopefully it's all positive news. We could do with a race win.
He does not want another breakdown, that's for sure. Ron knows that tennis can be a dangerous game as well. His man Montoya is back here after missing a couple of races. Juan Pablo Montoya broke his shoulder after taking a tumble on a tennis court, and Juan Pablo was nowhere to be seen when the drivers gathered for a hit at the Barcelona Tennis Club. Arantxa Sanchez-Vicario was on hand to raise their game. Nick Heidfeld had a return on more familiar territory.
Joining Nick Heidfeld at the Valencia circuit in eastern Spain was junior US Open winner Andrew Murray and Spanish legend Arantxa Sanchez Vicario. Nerves, not serves, were the order of the day.
No, I've only been in a car park maybe 5 or 6 times with my mum. I've never been on a road before, so I'm very nervous.
I have a little more experience than Andrew. I've been driving, but it's completely different.
First up, some practice laps, and it's hard to say who looks more nervous, the passengers or the driver.
I'm going up here, yeah?
Yes. Steer more. See it. Harder, even harder. It's good.
Thanks. You weren't saying much there, Arantxa.
No.
Same, you always start on the outside, then you go to the apex and back to the outside again. More or less where all the black lines are going. Try after the corner to go full on the throttle.
Should I go hard?
Now, full.
And then it was time for Nick to show them how the professionals do it.
It's not quick, but it's fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Right, you can smell the brakes.
And finally, the rookies took to the track for some cautious laps in single-seater Formula BMWs. Perhaps they should stick to the tennis circuit from now on.
Obviously, Andrew was very nervous before, as he's never been driving a car before in his life. Arantxa started very calm, but from the outside you could see that she was enjoying it more and more, and I'm sure they would both like to continue even further.
Not surprised Andrew Murray went white. He hasn't even passed his driving test yet. We always want to hear from you. You can get in touch with us. Just let me tell you the email address as well. The email address is paddock@itv-f1.com. There it is. The website's got all sorts of entertaining new features as well. That is itv.com/F1. Martin's around to respond on Ask the Team this week. We have a competition during every Grand Prix weekend. We're offering a great trip to Monaco after the answer to our San Marino question.
We gave away this beautiful model of the 2004 Ferrari. We even got it signed by the 7-time world champion himself. And that was the question we asked. How many championships had Michael Schumacher won? The answer, of course, 7. And well done, Bob Norton from Gwent. As for this week, Steinmetz the Diamond Company will give a winner and their guest the trip of a lifetime to their flawless weekend at the Monaco Grand Prix. You'll stay in luxury accommodation in the heart of the Côte d'Azur and party with the beautiful people on board their luxury yacht, the SS Delphine. Your weekend will be rounded off with trackside VIP seats for the Monaco Grand Prix. To enter then, just answer this easy question. Who was the last British driver to win the Monaco Grand Prix? Was it A, David Coulthard, B, Johnny Herbert, or C, Damon Hill? There's the number 0901 293 2020 or text F1 plus A, B or C to 63337. Calls cost £1, texts also cost £1 plus your standard network rate. And hurry up about it because the competition closes midday this coming Thursday.
Monaco, next race in a couple of weeks' time. There is the man, Fernando Alonso. Massive reception for him. Start of the race just over 20 minutes away. When you rejoin us, Martin will be rubbing shoulders, he'll hope to, with royalty on his grid walk, and he'll be heading Alonso's way as well. Superb day here in Spain. We have a great spectacle on our hands at the Catalunya circuit just outside of Barcelona. This used to be biking territory. Now it's a Formula One hotbed thanks to the exploits of Fernando Alonso. We have a 115,000 sellout on our hands. A great atmosphere. Let's chat to one of F1's great characters, Gerhard Berger.
Yeah, nice to see one of the old-timers still taking an interest in Formula One. I've been watching you, checking out all the cars here. Who's your money on?
I don't put money on it, but I would say we have a great season this year because we have several cars chance with winning. Today I think Raikkonen is in a really strong position. I think they are able to win races, or they're winning some races this year, and I think today could be the first time. But you know, you have to have Alonso on the list. Michael, 8th place. I think it's a long way to go to win, but for the podium, good enough.
Well, he made his way up from 13th to the podium at the last race. Do you think we're going to see him do that again?
No, I don't see it doing here because he's really struggling, I think. I'm sure in the race the tyre's going to work better, but it wasn't too impressive in qualifying. But who was really impressive was Raikkonen. So if he doesn't have any technical failure, he should be looking good.
Thanks, nice to see you again.
Bye.
The Renault's prepared and ready to go. And interesting, Fisichella hasn't really caught fire since his Melbourne victory, but he's in a decent slot on the grid, isn't he?
Yeah, he made up some places in the second qualifying as well, and he's doing a very, very solid job. It's interesting that Pat Simmons, the technical boss at Renault, has defended him, saying, listen, he's driving as well as ever. These last 3 failures were not his fault.
The Renault philosophy, though, it was points in 2003, podiums in 2004, and now, well, only a win will do here in Spain, won't it?
I think that's pretty right. They're doing much better than they thought they would be at this stage of the 4 wins. It's unbelievable.
Let's have a word with a really charismatic new arrival in Formula One, Tonio Liuzzi. He scored on his Grand Prix debut for Red Bull Racing. Here he is with Ted.
Well, Tonio, you ended up with a point from Imola in the end after BAR were kicked out. What chance of another one today?
Not bad for Imola. I think we have good chance today as well. The car during the week seemed really good. I just had a problem in the first qualifying. I had a mistake in corner 10 and we lost more than half second, so this cost me a lot in the Q1. But I think we have good chance to score points also in this race. Everyone is really close in lap time, but depends for the setup, because if we did the right one, we can arrive at the end with the tires, so this will be really important.
I see you've still got your little earring in here. Do you have to take that out before the race now?
They said that at the moment there is no problem for it, and they will look after. They stop for chains or armrest, but the earrings under the helmet will be allowed.
Thanks, Tonio.
Super lad, shocking haircut. Let's join Martin on the grid.
Thank you, Jim. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, the pace car, safety car sitting here, ticking over, ready to go. I said to them, how come if somebody might just steal a key out of that? That'll give you a bit of a headache today. And Bernd, who drives it, pulled the spare one out of his pocket, which rather impressed me. That'll leave with 5 minutes to go because there's no problems on this grid today. A little bit of oil was spilt from an earlier race in front of Mark Webber's car on grid slot 2. I agree with Gerhard Berger that Kimi Raikkonen should and could win this race today, and hopefully he's got some reliability to go with it. On the front row of the grid with him is Mark Webber. Mark, are you a genuine contender today?
Well, for the win, I think Kimi looks very strong, really strong. I think, as usual, we need to get away from here try and stay ahead of Fernando and try and get a good first stint in. Try and do that, and Toyota's probably our opposition. I think Fernando and Kimi are probably a sniff stronger than us.
All right, the Renaults appear to have lost some of their start advantage this year. Do you see it that way?
They have done, but Fernando's just telling me they've got it back from last year, so he's just giving me a bit of action. So we'll see how he goes, but I don't think they'll be too shabby away.
Put yourself in Fernando Alonso's shoes, and with a look at these grandstands full of people, and just look at the bull ring. Louise talked earlier on about him being a bullfighter today, and this incredible support. As a driver, I would be quite intimidated by that. How about you?
Well, we've seen it with other sports with the Spaniards. They really get behind him, and of course Fernando's won a lot of races and he deserves the support that he's got. If it's a good race for him today, it'll be good atmosphere.
All right, good luck to you too. Let's see if we can wander across the street here. We've got the national anthem being played at the moment. Let's see if we can, we got the Flav over here. We'll have a quick word with the Don. Flavio, your man's third on the grid. You think you can win this race?
I don't know, we try, but McLaren look very strong. We try, we do our best for these people to win here for us.
Yeah, a lot of pressure, but isn't it amazing to see the grandstands blue instead of red? Hey, you must be getting a pay rise.
I think so. The blue is the new color, no?
Yeah,
it's fantastic for Formula One, I think so. And for us, absolutely fantastic for Renault.
All right, can I have a quick word with your driver? Do you think he'll talk to me? Yeah? No, he's just turned up back from doing that, actually. There's only 18 drivers on this grid today. They booted out our man Button and Sato. And he's talking. No, he's not going to want to do that. He's just going into some kind of discussion with his engineers, but only 18 of them on the grid today, and half a dozen of them just don't want to talk to us. Quick word with Ralph, who's talking with BMW boss Mario Tyson. Let's see if we can get the pair of them. Do you mind if I interrupt? Do you mind if I interrupt? I'll interrupt anyway. I wish I could translate that conversation. What's that conversation, mate? You're talking with the enemy.
Well, I mean, basically, you know, we worked together for 5 years, so we're talking as friends only.
Yeah. Top man. Okay, what's the story today? You got a chance?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the qualifying didn't go perfect for us. We had some balance issues, which are good for the race, so we're looking forward to it. I mean, it's going to be a tough one for everybody. It's hot. The tarmac is very abrupt to the tyres, so, you know, all of us have to manage the tyres somehow, so be surprised how it ends up.
Tyre wear's an issue. Is that front or rears? Front left or both rears?
No, front left shouldn't be such an issue. It's more the rear, the traction we have here and the high-speed corners there, so it's more force in the rear.
Okay, good luck. Thanks for talking to us. Let's see who else we can find on the grid. I think the King has come onto the grid as well, so there'll be some pandemonium shortly. I wanted to have a quick word with Max Mosley, if he's still around. Fisichella is down here in P6, or is that car number 6? Lost track of that. Giancarlo, you're looking dead cool here. You're looking very cool. What's the feeling?
The feeling is good. It's important to be back in the top 3 rows, and we have good pace for the race. The car balance is really consistent. I'm looking forward. I like to score lots of points. Obviously, the target is to get on the podium.
Okay, good luck. We're watching. Let's wander down here. Michael Schumacher getting in his car. Has he got a job on his hands today? Let's go back into the middle of the grid, and I'm just going to poke my nose into the middle of this fight. We've got a brief minute, and let me just see if I can. How are you? Nice to see you. So, that's okay. That's okay. He did say that he would like to talk to us, but what do you think, Bernie? I think we should hang around, don't you? We got 30 seconds. The King is. What do you think here, Bernie? I think ITV would really like to talk to him. It's okay. That's okay. Really. Yeah. Okay. Well, do you think it'll take long? Because I've got about 20 seconds left. And he said he would like to talk to ITV. A big day for Spanish, but I'm not going to give up on this. Are you okay? I'm happy. Yeah. What do you think, Bernie? What about throwing Button out? Do you think that was the right move?
Yes.
Why?
To respect the regulations.
So, how are you?
I don't know.
Good. I've been waiting a while. So it just gets better for you, huh? Spain, Fernando Alonso. You must be so excited.
And I'm sorry that we don't go around the track again as you you took me last time. But I'm hoping to see a very good race, and the best for Fernando and the best for Schumacher and for all the rest also.
All right, wonderful to talk to you. I managed to get through your men, and thank you for dinner last night. And Jim, wherever you are, back to you.
He loved that lift around the track with Martin Brundle. I knew he'd elbow those minders aside in the end. Watch for Fernando Alonso, one of those special starts. He is poised to hit the front. The Spanish Grand Prix should be absolutely spectacular.